Hi, this is Matt Donegan from Challenger Stories. I'm here with Elena Davidson, who's the CEO of Liberty Communications. Elena, tell me more about Liberty Communications.
Thank you, Matt. And I just want to say thank you very much for letting me join today. I've been a fan of your work and have listened to past episodes, so I know the value they can bring people. So thank you very much for having me on. And I'm hoping that I can help advise other people in a similar way to the way that your podcasts have helped me in the past. So just in terms of Liberty, in a nutshell, we're a technology, PR and communications consultancy. So we help technology companies improve their profile internationally. And we have offices in the UK, in Europe, and in the US. So we really hope that we're very much a kind of global agency, but perhaps without the constraints that huge corporate agencies can provide in terms of cost. So we try to be a little bit more nimble, a little bit more flexible, but still with that international feel.
So you're outside of the large agency groups, aren't you?
Yes, we're completely independent, which is great because it really gives us, a nimbleness and agility that perhaps some of those bigger players don't have, both for staff and for clients.
And also there's a real sort of bun fight amongst agencies when you've got a client who's looking after or who has to engage or will engage with a number of different agencies. Being able to be slightly out of the bigger agency network is probably a benefit, I would have thought, because you're not tied into needing to work with other agencies inside the group.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and over our 27 years of being around, we've developed a real specialism in tech, and within tech, lots of different sectors that cover areas outside of tech as well. So yeah, we like to think that it brings our team lots of benefits and our clients too.
Yeah. So you've been the CEO for just over 10 years, I believe. The business has been going for 27 years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of different changes in that time. I mean, I look back at the days when digital kind of first happened and agencies stuck a .com at the end of the name and suddenly said they're a digital practice. But now we're in a time where things are moving really fast.
Yeah.
AI is really affecting how we communicate with each other in the digital space generally. So tell me, what are the challenges with the march of AI when it comes to communications?
I think when it comes to AI, everybody feels that they're on the back foot because it's advancing at such a rapid pace that understanding or sort of feeling like you're ahead of it feels almost kind of impossible because every day there seems to be a new development. So I think the key is to really understand it, to listen, to watch, to look at the developments, analyze them in detail, and then help your team and help your clients to better understand how they can put them into practice without being afraid of it. Because I think so many people are afraid of using AI and afraid to even get started with it. And so we very much see our role as helping guide our clients through that process. We are not saying we're experts. I don't think anyone is at the moment because things are still so new and things are changing at such a rapid rate. I don't think you can call yourself an expert in AI. So we're not saying we're that. But what we are saying is that we've done a lot of research into it. We're looking into it in a lot of detail. It's a continuous learning exercise for us, and we're helping pass that knowledge on and those recommendations and that advice to our team and our clients. And we're very much putting it through that lens of it having to be something that's practically valuable. So it's not just about buzzwords, it's not just about spin, it's about what they can practically use AI for to help them.
Yeah, so the way things are changing that we're witnessing in the marketplace at the moment is there were two distinct practices before. You had communications and PR kind of in one hand, and then you had the kind of semi-technology elements of SEO, so search engine optimization. But now, because of how AI is finding results and the fact that so many people now don't ask Google, they ask ChatGPT or another one of the generative AI tools, the responses that are coming back don't fit in with classic SEO tactics. The responses that are coming back are much more aligned with communication. So are you seeing this as a real benefit that you're in that space where actually communicating properly and communicating not just using AI tools to generate the content, because that's becoming very obvious as well. Yeah. Do you think you're in a good place to be able to benefit from that?
Yeah, I think the ChatGPT engines, to use ChatGPT as an example, there's lots of others you can use, of course.
Indeed. Yep.
That is based on the content it receives. And so the better and more informed the content that you're producing, the more likely it is that you're going to get into those engines and then, see the benefits of that. And really important to that is credible content. And I think this is one of the areas that we're seeing in terms of a kind of downside actually of AI, certainly from a media perspective, if we look kind of through that lens. So if you can imagine you're a journalist back kind of 30 years ago, you were used to receiving letters, I suppose, back before kind of email, etc. Then obviously email happened and the number of pitches journalists received mushroomed, and that kind of has built and built and built over time. And now it's become even worse, and they're inundated with AI generated pitches with no kind of human input at all. You can tell them a mile off, so it's really not worth doing. But really the important bit that agencies can bring, and I suppose in-house people too, is actually building those relationships with those journalists. Because if you've just got an inbox full of emails, some of which are AI generated, some of which aren't, but you've just got this mass of emails, you need to be able to whittle them down somehow. And if you know the person that's emailing you, you're going to open those emails much more frequently than the ones that are from either random email addresses or clearly AI generated. So first of all, building the relationships with those influencers that then write credible, trusted content that feeds those engines is really important. So it's about trust, it's about building those relationships, it's about developing credible, third-party backed content that is reputable and trusted.
So, and that's I think probably the biggest point when I look at the march of AI at the moment is all the information that we could ever have and we could ever learn is there. It's available at our fingertips with AI, and it was just with Google search before.
Yeah.
But now it's been refined. But because of the speed of communication, because of the speed by which we can find and this information is relayed to us, it's not about information anymore. It's now been driven back towards relationships. Yeah. Having that relationship with that journalist, they could get inundated by 1,000 messages a minute with AI. I've seen some AI tools that do an incredible job in sales. Yeah. You cannot tell them apart from a human being, either speech or email. Colloquialisms are built into it. You can't trust the source at the end of the phone anymore, and certainly not what appears in your inbox that it isn't coming from a human being. So that power of communication is kind of looks like it's switching back towards more to do with relationships and less to do with let's put 1 million messages out because no one's going to read them anyway. And what you'll get is two AIs talking to each other on either end of that communication. Yeah. Does that sound like a kind of reasonable assessment of where the marketplace could well be heading?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it applies as well to sales. People, we were talking about before, people buy from people. So, you need, AI can be brilliant for doing some background research, for helping you create pitches, but you've got to build those relationships with your leads and your network to be able to actually, pin down a sale, I think. And it's the same with, dealing with journalists. But more so because it's not advertising. You're not paying them to write about you. You really do need to build that relationship. It's more critical than ever. And you need to be really respectful of them and be mindful of that when you're dealing with them. So don't cancel meetings with them. Don't ask for changes to their articles unless they're factually incorrect. But, just be respectful of the fact that you're not paying them to write that article. They're doing it because they're interested in you. They're doing it because they want to build a relationship with you to try and build that for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the type of clients that you deal with, they're very large companies in the technology space.
Yeah.
How do you find that they're adapting to these changes or are they taking your lead on things?
It varies. And so we work with challenger brands as well as large multinational corporates. And it's really varied. So some of the large multinationals will be really advanced with it. Others will be really looking for guidance. And we've seen that a lot over the last few months. Some of the kind of smaller challenger brands have really embraced AI, quickly and are real cheerleaders for it. And you can kind of probably imagine that within the tech space. And others are quite wary of it and quite scared. And it's sort of, it depends a bit on the sector as well. So if you're working in banking and finance, for example, where there's a lot of compliance issues and that kind of thing, then, everything has to be done, when they're making a decision very, very, very thoroughly. Whereas other sectors, they can be a bit more maverick in their approach. So it really varies. And certainly if you're a big organization, it doesn't mean that you're embracing AI quicker than a challenger brand or vice versa. It just really depends on the mindset of the individual. The main thing that I would say is to just give these tools a go, try and play with them in a sort of sandbox environment. So, where nothing really matters, so try and get your team testing out different ways of using it and talk to each other. And do your own research. There are so many podcasts and so many webinars and things like that out there now. People like me trying to help pass on some of the knowledge that I've learned. So really tap into that. It's there for your benefit and can really help you make informed decisions.
So, in summary, it's about relationships. It's about know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Both in communication with a journalist or publishers, and also with a target audience and the customer of your clients. Effectively, that's what we're talking about here. So that's some of the challenges around AI and how that's developing at the moment. And I've got no doubt that in 12 months' time or 18 months' time, or when any time we look back at this conversation that we're having today, it's going to age pretty quickly, right? Because things are moving so fast. There are certain problems, there are certain challenges in pretty much every business that remain constant. At the moment, what's your biggest challenges in the business? Certainly AI is one of them, right? So what challenge is that bringing you as a CEO of an award-winning company, award-winning communications agency?
So working in tech has been a real privilege because actually it's such a dynamic and innovative sector to work in that things are constantly changing and, for the better most of the time. So actually, whereas other sectors might be really concerned about AI, we've taken an approach of being really kind of pro it actually, and seeing it as a positive challenge and one that we can embrace for the benefit of our team and our clients. So whilst it is a challenge, it's one that we see lots of potential in, just like we've seen in lots of other innovations over the years present ourselves. I suppose another challenge would be just trying to keep on top of global developments as well, internationally. And there's so much that's going on internationally, and trying to stay ahead and understand how that impacts our customers and our business is quite difficult at times, especially when things change so quickly. And you've got a lot of different sectors that you cover for an international tech agency. So being abreast of those and trying to understand how those will affect the business is challenging too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's how it's going to affect your client's business as well as your core business as well. So you're looking at, things are moving faster now than they ever have done in so many different respects. And you are in the fastest moving sector of all. You're in tech. And what happens in tech, just in terms of technology products, year on year, they adapt, they change. It's really, really fast moving environment. And to make it even more challenging for you, you're not just in one country. You're in how many countries now?
So we've got wholly owned offices in 3 different countries, and then we've got a partner network across every other territory in the world. So we run global campaigns daily for our clients, either through our wholly owned offices or through our partner network, or a bit of both.
Wow. Okay. I've got to take my hat off. How can you sleep at night?
No, it's
You've got...
it's great fun actually, because you know what? Different countries have different approaches to things. And that's really fascinating to learn about and to, get up to speed with. So so it's great meeting people. That's why I do the job, meeting interesting people, talking to interesting people, having interesting discussions. That's what it's all about.
So one of the things that I'm a bit of a historian, a business historian, and one of the things that when Walmart first started off, what it did, Sam Walmart was brilliant at, was finding out what worked inside his organization and being able to communicate that and pulling out the communication from the different branches. And they were one of the first guys to have all the branch managers have a weekly meeting where they would share and learn what each one of the businesses had done. So that's the reason why you see greeters in it in American supermarkets is because that was originally one of the stores said, actually, we put someone there to prevent shoplifting. But what happened was our customers loved it. They loved being greeted, and that became common practice. So it's a kind of byproduct, and it came from business intelligence. One of the things that strikes me with Liberty Communications is you've got so many offices that you can learn from different territories how they do different things and bring them into one.
That's exactly it.
You must be really excited by that.
Yeah, it is. And it's great bringing all that knowledge together, whether we're doing a global call or we're doing a global summit, or, or even if you're just at an event where there are different people from different countries and different sectors all congregating together. I'm only saying that because you don't need to be an international agency to benefit from that kind of global approach. You can take it into your kind of day-to-day life, even if you've just got, one office in one territory and you're only focused on one market. Meeting people with different perspectives, whether it's an event or whether it's kind of online as well. You can do lots of different things online now. It's great to get those different perspectives and to learn from each other and to really listen. I think people don't often really listen to each other properly, especially if you're in a sales-focused kind of environment. Often when you're in comms as well, people are so keen to push their agenda that they don't really listen to the issues that people are facing and really try to understand those. And I think if you can really do that, that's the key to delivering really good service, whether it's for PR and comms or whether it's for another function within the business. If you can really listen, can really understand what your customer's asking, then you can really sort of deliver a solution that helps best address that.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I find interesting, what you were saying there, is about listening and learning. Because you didn't start the business, but you've been CEO for 10 years. So clearly you're very, very well suited to the role and you're doing a brilliant job. That's absolutely clear. Who's inspired you on your journey?
So, well, I couldn't be doing this job without our founder, Dee. So she definitely has been an inspiration. And as she does things in a way I don't always do things as well. So that I've really learned a real kind of skill from her in that respect. I think I'm more cautious in an approach, whereas she's much more of a kind of risk taker in a really good way. But historically, she's, pushed me to take risks that I wouldn't ordinarily take. So she's definitely been a massive inspiration. My family and my parents, they certainly have. My mum worked when I was younger, so I always had a good female, role model. And she went to university when lots of women didn't. And she's really bright. She's really switched on. She's very genuine, very, very authentic, and she's fantastic in that kind of way. So from a personal perspective, she's been a real inspiration to me as well. And then, sort of business wise, there have been lots of different use cases of companies that have done really well. Companies like Microsoft, Satya Nadella, for example, how he transformed Microsoft, not just by shifting strategy, but by reshaping the culture around empathy and collaboration. And he's somebody I admire. And, lots of our clients that we work with on a daily basis. I work with some super inspiring people in my team. I think one of the big things as a CEO is to understand that you don't have all the answers, and nor should you. But you need to surround yourself with great people who have great ideas, and to trust in those people, and to trust them to run their accounts. We've been very pro on that at Liberty, and I think that's something that hopefully people who work at the agency or who have worked at the agency can testify. You get a lot of autonomy to, run the accounts, and that you're trusted to do that. And I think that's really important. And I learn as much from them as they do from me, for sure.
Yeah, that's, Elena, what you're saying is the sign of a true leader.
Oh, good.
That they are some of the key traits of leadership. How to motivate and inspire people is by giving them autonomy, by showing them respect, by giving them power over their environment, but the power to change how things are done for the purpose of the business and the company and for the greater good. That's a sign of great leadership. So was that something that was trained in you, was coached in you, or was that something that you've just developed as a belief system?
Yeah, it probably was. I mean, I think growing up, and we touched on this a little earlier, but I grew up in South Africa, where when I was there was apartheid, and it felt really, well, equality was a real issue. And I think I saw that firsthand, and I saw the negatives that can bring people and the upset that can bring people. And so I think we've always tried as an agency, and me personally, to try and be equal in all approaches and how I lead my personal life, but, you know, professionally too. So had to have a flat structure, to not be hierarchical in nature, to give people a voice, to allow them to contribute, to, you know, give them the autonomy, as we were saying earlier, to run things how they would like to run things, and you know that they are trusted to do that. And I think that's really important. I think none of us are, you know, we're all as good as the sum of our parts. And certainly working in any agency or any organisation, you're working as a team. You need to work together to get the best of that team. And if you surround yourselves by yes people all the time, and people that don't, you know, challenge you with different mindsets, then, you know, that leads to nowhere. You have to be, you know, magnanimous to, you know, accept that other people have different opinions, that they're really valid, that even though that person might be less experienced, it might be the right idea. Yeah, so that's really important.
Good ideas don't have to resonate from the boardroom. They can resonate from the so-called shop floor as well. And you're absolutely right to adopt that, because that's the way that great leaders thrive.
Yeah.
Is that they bring in the great minds that they've hired, and they rely on them. They trust them to do the work that they've asked them to do and deliver it. And that's how you get great results. So look, I'm going to ask something about the industry. If there was one change that you'd like to see in the communications industry, you're one of the market leaders out there, hugely respected business, global footprint. What would you like to see being done differently in the communications industry at the moment?
I think it's so much easier to say yes all the time and to want to please. But I think the real value comes when you can say no and then explain why, and to suggest then another alternative approach. But I think people really respect you for it. So not being afraid to always say yes, but being afraid to challenge them and say no sometimes. And I think that can be a real positive thing, and I don't think it happens enough.
Yeah, I would agree. There's some very strange decisions made at times, and you think, did that come from groupthink?
Yeah.
Was that because someone had a bit of a rush of blood to the head? Who knows? But, you know, you see some crazy stuff happening out there. And I think some of it's driven by fear at the moment, fear of the unknown, fear of AI, as we've discussed, about what's happening in the world at times. And also because being in business at the moment is tough.
Yeah.
Being in business is challenging. We've had lots of different pressures. We've got things happening across Europe, things happening in the US and in the Middle East, and then we've got climate change, and then we've got cost of living crisis, and we seem to have lurched from one pretty big issue to another. We had Brexit and the shockwaves of that, and then, you know, you've got the cost of living crisis, and, you know, no matter what political colour scarf you wear, it's been a rough ride. And with businesses at this moment in time, they're feeling the effect. So what's the one thing that Liberty Communications is doing that's going to buck the trend and keep you guys in the really solid position that you are?
I think we need to be trusted advisors. We need to be indispensable to our clients. That's one of our missions, is to be indispensable to our clients and to be indispensable to our team. So we work together very much to help deliver on that mission. And I think if we can work as partners, then, you know, you can achieve anything that life throws at you. And to also not be afraid of failing. And I think, you know, sometimes that stops people doing things. So not being afraid to try something different because it might fail.
Yeah.
Just lessons from your mistakes, I always think. So just having the kind of freedom to be able to try new things. And that's ultimately how AI's come about, and how the best innovations in the world have happened, through people not being afraid to try new things and to change things up and revolutionize whatever industry they're working in. So I think just that fear of failure can be like handcuffs sometimes, and just having the freedom to be able to try new things is really important.
Yeah, it's ironic in what you say there, because one of the great mantras in the technology industry is fail fast and fail often.
Yeah.
Meaning, you know, lean methodology, doing something, learning from it, learn by the mistakes that you made, and improving those cycles. So yeah, you can't grow unless you fail.
Yeah.
You can't grow unless you move out of that comfort zone and make those mistakes. So yeah, no, so that's a great insight. Thank you so much for that, Elena. And Elena, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed speaking with you. Liberty Communications, huge respect for you guys, for what you've continued to do and what you've done over 27 years and with your 10 years in the saddle, as it were. So Elena Davidson from Liberty Communications, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I've loved it.
Likewise. Bye-bye.